Productive, Episode 6, The Meeting Without Music. Scene 1, The Corridor of Neutral Ground.
They met by accident. The transition corridor was built to connect places, not people. It linked the care hall, the planning bunker, and the balconies of light with the same impartial precision. No windows, no warmth. The air carried no scent of forest or fire. Only the faint sterility of stone and polished metal. Lucy was the first to stop. She looked smaller than before, folded inward as if gravity had increased around her alone. Her fur had lost its softness, dull to a tired gray. She smelled of old tea and tears she had not had time to cry properly. When she lifted her head, her eyes searched the corridor, already bracing for disappointment. Teddy emerged from the opposite side. He stood straight, almost rigid, as if posture itself were a rule he refused to break. Dark ink stained the edges of his claws. Paper and metal clung to him like a second skin. His gaze took in the space, the distances, the angles. Everything except the ache in Lucy's face. A moment later, light spilled softly into the corridor. Thinksy arrived last, glowing too brightly for the colorless walls. The light around him was sharp and steady, no longer breathing with emotion but humming with restraint. His eyes were glassy, unfocused, as if he were looking through the corridor rather than at it. The air around him carried the scent of ozone. Clean, electric, faintly burning. They stopped. 3 points, a perfect triangle. No one stepped closer. The corridor answered them with sound. Every shuffle of a paw, every inhale, every restrained sigh bounced back from the walls, multiplied and distorted. The echoes overlapped, turning even silence into noise. Lucy tried to speak. She began. Her words struck the stone and came back to her fractured, louder and thinner than she intended. She flinched, as if interrupted by her own voice. Teddy opened his mouth, then closed it again. The echo of Lucy's half-sentence lingered, making it impossible to find a clean beginning. He adjusted his stance instead, claws clicking softly against the floor. Too loud, too sharp. Thinksy smiled, out of habit. The expression hovered on his face, bright and unconvincing. He lifted a hand, a small wave meant to bridge the space, but the light around his fingers reflected harshly off the walls and scattered. It did not reach them. They could see each other clearly. They could not hear each other properly. Between them lay an invisible buffer. Once temporary, now structural, a safety distance that had hardened into rule and reflex. Each of them waited for the others to cross it. No one did. After a moment that stretched and thinned under the corridor's echo, they nodded. 3 separate acknowledgements, polite and incomplete, and continued on their separate paths. The corridor returned to silence. It remained exactly what it had been designed to be, a place of passage, not of meeting.
Scene 2, When Words No Longer Mean the Same.
For a moment, none of them spoke. The corridor waited. Lucy broke first. This burden, she said slowly, choosing her words as if they might cut her if handled carelessly. It's crushing. I listen, and there is nothing I am allowed to fix. I don't know how long I can keep carrying this." Her voice trembled, but the echo stripped the warmth from it. Teddy heard accusation. "She thinks I am failing," his mind concluded with mechanical certainty. "She believes I should have solved this already, faster, better." His shoulders tightened. Thinksy heard danger. "This is how morale collapses," she thought. "This is how hope dims." Lucy's honesty sounded, to her, like a crack spreading through glass. Teddy answered, not to Lucy's pain, but to the version of her words that had reached him. "The system is still stabilizing," he said, voice clipped and precise. "According to the data, dissatisfaction is decreasing. You need to trust the process, Lucy. It takes time." Lucy felt something go cold inside her. "He doesn't hear me," she thought. "He doesn't even see me." To him, she was not a living body soaked in other people's grief. She was a variable refusing to stay within acceptable margins. Thinksy stepped forward quickly, light flaring just a little brighter. Hey, it's okay," he said, smiling wide enough to hurt. "Everything is fine. Look around. Our cone has organized things so beautifully. We just have to keep going, keep shining. The people need it." Lucy looked at him, mud still clinging to her paws. "She floats above all of this," she thought bitterly. "She gets applause while I collect despair." Teddy heard something else entirely. Naivety, he classified it. A failure to understand the cost of safety. Light was easy, numbers were not. They spoke again, all at once, words overlapping, echoes colliding. Each sentence returned to them altered, sharpened, emptied of intent. No one asked the simplest question. No one said, "Are you okay?" They spoke as caretaker, architect, beacon. They spoke from roles that had grown thicker than skin. At last, silence forced itself between them again. 3 figures stood in the corridor, convinced they had been misunderstood, and unaware that they had never truly listened. The corridor held their echoes for a long time after they fell quiet, until even the sound gave up trying to make sense of them.
Scene 3. The Turned Away Gaze.
Nothing more was said. That was the true ending of the meeting. Teddy felt the weight of the unspoken blueprint press against his thoughts. The permanent sector fence, the clean line that would seal Lucy's patience away from the rest of the meadow. On paper, it was elegant, safe, final. He did not mention it. Lucy wouldn't understand, he told himself. She would hear cruelty where there is only prevention, so he kept the plan where it felt safest, inside his own head, alongside numbers that never cried. Lucy lowered her eyes. She did not speak of the dreams. The ones where the air tasted old again, where shadows moved with purpose, where the Dark Queen's presence seeped back into the dream world like ink into water. She had learned what happened to warnings delivered without proof. Teddy would call it instability, she thought. Thinksy would call it fear, so she folded the visions into herself and let them bruise her quietly. Thinksy smiled, just once more. She did not tell them that the moment she stepped away from the balcony, her glow failed him, that in the narrow stairwells and empty rooms, her light flickered, thinned, and sometimes vanished entirely. She was afraid of what that darkness said about him. Beacons aren't allowed to go dark, she thought, so she hid the night inside his chest and hoped no one would notice the weight of it. They stood there, 3 figures holding 3 secrets, each convinced they were protecting the others by remaining silent. Then the bell rang, not loud, not harsh, perfectly measured. Arcone's clock marked the hour with a single, resonant chime that filled the corridor and erased the fragile pause between them. Break is over. The words did not need a voice. Lucy turned toward the care center, Teddy turned back toward the bunker, Thinksy ascended toward the light. None of them looked back. As their footsteps faded in separate directions, the corridor remained, empty, echoing, faithful only to the sounds it had already lost. And somewhere deep within Teddy's chest, a thought settled into place, heavy and immovable as stone. Someone has to be the adult in this room.